Hi, this is John from EvoGov, and in this case study, I'm going to dive in a little bit deeper than usual just to show you how we build websites here. And this project is a nice little project to review. This client has a website. You can see it live here. This is their old website that was built by Revize a number of years ago. And not a terrible website, but there's some issues here that I'll cover. And really the goal of this video is to show you how we approach a project like this, what goes into it, and how to get the most out of the company that you choose to build your website, especially for a small county like this. There's some unique challenges that I think you'll enjoy seeing how we tackled those and really what went into it. So one of the first steps here is to look at the site, and we're going to there's something about it where residents were complaining that they couldn't find things, and the staff at the county said the site was okay, but it wasn't great, and they were just looking for a better aesthetic overall for the design. And when I see, or I guess when we see a list of links that are stacked like this, we call this like just a link stack where you have more than 6 or 8 popular links over here on the side. This menu is really trying to do too much. And there's something about the psychology of design where when a website visitor has to scan more than 6 or 8 items, they just sort of glaze over and they say, I can't find anything. And so right away we see that, there's one challenge that we need to work on. There's a latest news area here that has basically a couple of PDF links. They're not really news items. I would say for smaller counties, a news area on the homepage is one of the most neglected items because a county doesn't necessarily operate like a city would in the sense that you have, someone who's managing the news in a central location, like a central group of administrators per se. Now that does happen, but it's more than likely that there's a collection of agencies in the county that each kind of do their own thing. So to decide which one of those agencies would push news items to the homepage can sometimes be just a human challenge as far as organizing the outbound message of the county. And there's some other examples of that we'll see here. There's a seal for the county. Now, this is a seal that was created a long, long time ago, probably in the early 1900s. It's just black and white, and you can see that it's got wheat and a plow. It says Prowers County, Colorado. But right away we can see that it's fuzzy and it's not really a vector image. So this was probably a photograph of a drawing or something many years ago. And then unfortunately, there's a calendar here that looks like it's just for the fairgrounds. Was at one point linked to a Google Calendar. It may still be linked to the Google Calendar, but it's not. It's saying that I don't have cookies enabled, but I do. So there's obviously a problem right there, because if I can't see it and I know that I have cookies enabled, then certainly residents can't see the calendar. But just like news areas, calendars can sometimes be problematic for a county homepage. So that's another consideration in this design. And then in speaking with the county during their kickoff meeting, one of the questions that we asked was, do you have any branding collateral that you can give us? In other words, do you have a branding or style guide where we can see your logos, your color scheme, the fonts that you use in your communications, anything of that sort? And the answer was no. So that was a little bit telling into how they got to this point with the website, because the images in the slideshow up here are images that I recognize. There's some of these came from Shutterstock. So the main background image, the hero image is a Shutterstock image. Now, there are a couple of images in there that were from like a rodeo at their fairgrounds and things like that, and that's okay. But once again, when there's a place for stock photography, but if it's the main marketing message and it's not really tied to the county, it can feel disconnected when you look at it, right? And so all that you're really left with is a text effect. It's kind of the only way to really create a sort of logo for the masthead of the site. And so this isn't terrible. I mean, I think, they when this was first built, they kind of did an okay job. But my hunch is that they really didn't have much to work with, and that can be challenging for a rural community that hasn't really gone through a sort of branding exercise or just had the opportunity to kind of generate that sort of stuff. We look at what I call the medallions or action buttons here. You've got the budget, employment, calendar, and economic development. And we've already got, see all events. I mean, that could just be for the fairgrounds. But anyways, sort of interesting. I mean, there's only 4 of them. That's kind of weak for that menu. I mean, typically we like to see 6 items there for really, really critical things. And then you've got your main menu up here where the first item is home. Not the end of the world, but I mean, it's almost a giveaway, right? If the main menu starts with like home, about, contact, and that's all it's up there, it usually means there wasn't a lot of thought put into the planning for the menu. That's definitely evident here because when we look at the elected officials, these are okay. I don't think there's anything too terrible about this. We get into departments, however, and you've got administration, which is definitely, a department in the county. To me, a department is a group of people that work at a location or multiple locations that have, sort of one agency underneath of them. Administration is fine, but then we've got a big timbers museum as the next item here. And as we go through this, there's a number of buildings that are listed under departments. Are they really departments? Probably not in the strictest sense of the word. So probably, what we felt in looking at this was that it made a lot of sense because there's so many facilities in this departments menu to just break it out into a facilities menu. So that's one of the things that we did, and I'll show you how we accomplished that. And then under resources, these are some, it's just anything that says popular links or resources. They have their place, but they can unfortunately devolve into like a dumping ground to just put general information. And it's sort of a lazy way to build the website initially because you're hoping that the end visitor will just, find what they need by reading every single link in this menu instead of really like structuring it better. I know that Revize can build mega menus. These are all single column, which again is a little strange, especially when they're this tall. Remember what I said earlier about showing more than 8 links, and then here's a menu where you have a tower of links, right? They combine both facilities. Here's a hotline, right? It's a little bit odd. If we look at one of these departments, land use was one that popped out at us. Kind of an underwhelming landing page, but that's not totally surprising. But when you get into things like some of the regulations, applications, and permits, and here's like a subsection just for 1041, you can see that this page is it's like an FAQ, right, with this expandable accordion where you have all of these sort of documents organized under what looks to me to be a general information one, and then underneath that you have 3 separate pretty large projects. This is a power line project for a transmission line, which I would imagine is impacting farmers in the community. So that's probably a hot topic where some folks want to see that. If I were a farmer and there's a like transmission line coming over my property or near my property, I might want to know about it. So when I look at this item and then these other 2, these are projects. These are actually named projects for certain farms and probably big, industrial type projects happening in the county. So which got me thinking, why not have a projects area? Because as we went through this whole section, we found, a few of those, and a project can have quite a bit of, documentation here, which again, how many clicks should it take to get to those, and how important is that? So thinking from the outside in, again, if I were a farmer, maybe I'd be pretty interested in that. And there's no way in the menu to kind of get to important forms and applications, which is an area for improvement, right? Just in looking at the site, we could tell that's an area where we could improve things. So we started the process here, and I'll zoom in. We started to actually work on design. Let me turn off these toolbars. I don't know if it's going to make me sign in. That's okay. I'll sign in real quick and just pull this off the screen. I guess it signed me out. That's right. I did reboot before I started this. Signing in. All right. Cool. So this is Figma. Figma is an online tool for creating design prototypes. You can think of it as Canva, but for web designers. It actually gives you all these tools where you can create layers and generate style information that web designers care about, nerds care about, right? Just web nerds like me. So, we got to work looking at the elements of the homepage and what it could be. And honestly, the starting point of just really starting to break it down became kind of underwhelming. We had to pause for a minute, because one of the things is, the seal is typically something that you would see as part of the branding in the county website, and then this font here looks kind of awful, right? So everything about this was kind of icky, and the color scheme that you see here is also kind of strange. It was pulled from different elements on the page and some photographs just to get a starting point, but it wasn't working. And so we stopped and asked ourselves, okay, like the seal, how much flexibility do we have in maybe fixing this up? And when you look at the state of Colorado seal, this is a county in Colorado. This is a really nice vector art seal for the whole state, and obviously we don't want to bite anything from that too badly, but maybe we could take some inspiration. It's got the dots here in the center, just like the state seal. It has the rope around the edge like the state seal, but it goes in a different direction, which is kind of interesting. And again, we didn't have any sort of vector image here to work with, so we had a decision to make. This customer wasn't really paying us for a logo redesign, which could be pretty expensive. I mean, it takes time. Or we could help them out, because this is really going to set the project off on the right path, and it could create branding collateral that the county could use in the future, right? So we started to recreate the seal. Here's what we came up with, and you can see that this looks a lot better. This is in Adobe Illustrator. I'm showing you the raw files here. And we created a full color seal that has a similar background to the state. That's the only really main thing that we borrowed from that, as well as the gold rope. And but we redid this rope. You can see how fuzzy it is and how awful the old one is compared to the new one. And then we made some different versions, right? So there's a blackout version, and then a knockout white version that we like to use those in the footer of the website just to add some contrast and texture. And then a blackout version here as well. So we had a reveal meeting with the client, showed them this. They were thrilled. They loved it. And then, this is great because it helps our relationship with the client. We're able to give them these basically camera-ready art files that they could use to create decals. They could put this on the side of their public works trucks or vehicles or signage or, whatever. So that was a win. And then once this had started, we started to put together what the site could really look like. And then here is how that came together. So new color scheme that was a bright color scheme from another website that we built that we just really liked this color scheme. We thought it would work, especially with the blue complementing the logo background, the seal background. And then, this is just, I mean, it's like night and day when you compare it to the old website. Let's go back to the homepage here. So, yeah, just it's going to be a night and day difference. And let's see why. Okay, let's break it down. So we've got some more important action buttons here for the bottom action menu. And one of the things that we asked during our planning meetings with the county was how important is the court system? Because in some cases, the counties are really tied to the court system. And there's a lot of court information in the website. The court in this case is run by the state, and it's not anything that the county really wanted to touch. They just wanted to link out to it. So one of the action buttons here is for the court website. And yeah, we're happy with that menu. Came out pretty well. The next thing that we started to break out was how were we going to approach, and this is just the prototyping engine here, but how are we going to break out these sort of action panels for the busiest of departments, right? So, when you have, and this is true of cities as well, but when you have a department that has a lot of action items, and again, we're trying to get away from those button stacks, right? But we want to group them together so that if I'm looking specifically for information on like my property values, let's say, I know that I'm going to go to this county assessor sort of action block here. And this lets the visitor scan these quickly, right? So am I looking for health information? No. Am I looking for clerk information? No. Am I looking for the sheriff's office? No. County assessor. Okay, there I am. Then I've only got a few, 6 links or so to go through. Public health has quite a few more, but post-COVID, I'm not really surprised. Yeah, and then the idea here was to create a sunshade effect, and you can kind of see that here. We've got a black, the photo's actually pretty bright, but then you put it behind this channel that turns it into like a sunshade, and that just makes the text pop off the page. So for usability, you want to have good contrast on your fonts, especially a white font, and that's how we achieve that. And then, yeah, here's a really nice footer, and you can see how we use that knockout version of the seal and just turn down the opacity to blend it into the background, give it a little bit of pizzazz. And one of the things, and this just goes into the research part of things to kind of illustrate, where these things come from. In just doing research on the site, we found a small economic development website that was a pet project of one of the commissioners for advertising the area. And they had a tagline on that page that said, "In the middle of everything." And when you look at this county, it's kind of in the middle of nowhere. I mean, it's in the middle of, the southeast corner of Colorado where it's just open plains. But what was interesting to me was the "in the middle of everything" tagline or slogan sort of came out of the fact that they are near the intersection of two of the biggest, highway systems in the U.S., right? And so I thought that, that spoke to me as part of their branding, but I didn't see it anywhere in the old site. So on this temporary image, just to show where a slideshow might be, we put that tagline in. And as far as the text for the logo, in addition to the seal, again, they had this font here, but it wasn't anything really specific that would tie itself to the seal. So what we did is we, found a font that we really liked, where we could, blend in these other colors and make it pop, right? So really, really happy with that. Another idea was to put the weather up top here, and we had a kind of a plain little weather widget, but we found something really better for this. I'll show it to you. And let's just see how this whole thing came together. Okay, so here's the new site, and it opens up with a video. Now, the seal fades in and out, and luckily, after a couple of conversations with the county, we were able to get some decent aerial photography, not stock photography, but photos from the area and a couple of drone shots. And typically the law enforcement agency, like the sheriff's office, or if it's a city, it's going to be the police department. They typically have a drone, and you can use them as a resource to get that sort of collateral to build it out. And so, there's the state fair, very important to them, right? There's some national historical site. And then we look at the menu, and this is still in development. It's almost done, but for some of the menu items that don't have a ton of content, we've got a single column. And then for things like forms and permits, this is where, the rubber hits the road, like to really make the site easier to use. So instead of having to dig and click on 3 or 4 links to find a very specific zoning permit, let's say, these are right here on every page, one click away. And then the projects that I talked about before, here's how we were able to consolidate those into their own mega menu, just to make it super easy to find, any information on the biggest projects happening in the county. Now that can be fluid, but this was going to be super easy for the county employees to manage just by dragging and dropping links in the menu management. Have a nice little weather thing happening up here, shows the current weather. And if we scroll down, we can see the mouse over effect on these medallion links. And these are what we're calling the action grid, is what we call it internally. But when you mouse over each of the panels here, it darkens the background even more to increase the contrast, right? Just so you can read things a little bit better. But it adds a nice effect to it. There's a couple more elements going into this site, but I mean this gives you the real, a real nice preview of how this is going to look and work when it's done. And then we've got a bunch of different languages in here. This is kind of showing all the languages. We'll probably pare that down to the ones that the county's interested in, but by default, when we first install the translation, we typically have all of them in there. Another couple of cool things with this, if we look at the mobile version, okay, you'll notice that let's break this down a little bit. So you'll see if I resize it, it replays the video. That's on purpose so that if we do hit a mobile screen, we can actually block the video and replace it with a slideshow. But when we get down to a tablet size, those panels stack up. And then if we've replaced the medallions with these little mobile version of those links. And then, of course, we have a mobile menu. So, how do we handle those really giant menus in mobile? Well, this has a really clean, easy to use menu system here, where basically the columns just kind of stack up. But again, the whole goal is to make this easy for someone to use and to get to everything. And we're really happy with how this came together. So, again, very, very clean, very easy, which is what we were shooting for. Columns and the footer stack up. Again, everything is just perfect as far as the layout on this goes. And we come back out to a bigger size, and our video plays again. Now, again, if I go to mobile, we have no video. And one of the coolest things about this project that I was excited about was, our team built a script and we actually used AI to assist us with this, but we built a script to prevent mobile devices from having to download this video, because a video like this can be between 70 and 100 megs. It'll stream from our streaming server on Amazon, so it's not, it loads pretty smoothly, pretty much immediately, as long as you have a decent connection. But on mobile devices, we don't want that. So we literally just completely block it from loading or even preloading when you're on a mobile device. And that lets us keep the most important links right at the top here without having to wait for a box to load, which would just, kill the performance of the site. So anyways, really happy with how this came together and how this design sort of grew from a concept to actually having a personality. When we revealed the game plan for this and how this was all going to look, we got a really positive response from the county. They even, pulled a commissioner in to take a look at it, and they said, wow, this is going to look great. So just going that extra mile, I think, having actual photos of their buildings and the local area in the background without having to sort of resort to stock photography for everything is definitely a win. And we can't do this for every project, but when it comes to like creating a new logo and everything, because that can be really time consuming. This one wasn't too terrible, but the huge payoff for them, right? Like they're going to be able to use this branding in a bunch of different ways, both online and off. So it was a way for us to make sure that the project was successful, make sure that the site looked great, but also help them with their identity management, right? Just their own, who is Prowers County, what makes them tick. And I think having these color schemes for other marketing and collateral that they may create is really going to help them out. Oh yeah, this is this little card that you see down here. This was actually for their Twitter card. So when you share links to a website, you rebuild your website and you share links to it, it's possible to actually edit that preview logo that pops up when you share like a link on Facebook or on Twitter or anywhere else, even in instant messaging or an SMS. It'll sometimes go to the website and look for this logo, and if it doesn't find it, it may not show anything, or it may show a preview of the page, which isn't always attractive. So we made a nice social media preview panel for them that'll pop up anytime someone shares a link to the county. So I hope this case study deep dive illustrates what goes into these projects and how we really do care what the final project looks like. We do our research and we consult with the customer to ensure it's exactly what they want, and at the same time build it quickly and affordably. So really appreciate you taking the time to watch this video. And if you have any questions, let us know. If you need a quote for your project, use our quote form, and we usually provide a quote the same day. So thanks for watching.